information shown at the end if you have questions that you would like to follow up with me on. Obviously, you can stop me at any time through this, but I'll try to get through all of it in 30 minutes. So here's our outline. There are some objectives. What were the objectives that we have for this? Why the Leesman Survey? The process that was gone through. What was the value and the learnings that we gathered from it? And then the big now what question, and then moving forward beyond that. So our goal, our objective was really to find a legitimate survey that we could propose and use with our clients. Obviously, we have our own things that we use. But frankly, sometimes, you know, that if you're like me and you wear glasses, you kind of look over the lenses at you and you go, okay, is that really real? Or are you getting what you want because of spinning the language or whatever? So we really wanted someone who had a history with surveys, an independent third party, some really broad workplace review questions, what we thought would be a legitimate process, something that had a legitimate schedule, support for both reviewing it and any insights they could offer, and it certainly would be client friendly. Obviously, missing a question of what's it cost. So that's a little, it's not a blanket cost. It's based on how many buildings and how many people use surveys. So it's done on a per building, per client situation. So the thing that really sealed the deal for us was this mission statement in the first sentence there. We do one thing one way, measure how workplaces support those who use them. That was a definitive statement for us, and we thought it made it a good idea for us to look at Leesman.
Oh, thanks.
So the why question also was answered by the number of respondents. In 2014, there were 75,000 respondents for almost 700 properties. As of February of this year, almost 750,000 respondents at 5,000 properties. So again, they have been doing this for some time and they're quite good at it. The process looks a bit like this. 4 stages. One is they work with you to develop the survey based on your business objectives. They simply send a secure digital survey complete to a list of email addresses that you provide. It's open for 7 to 10 days or maybe as many as 14. They prefer the shorter rather than the longer. And then within about a week, the results are available to you. And then after you have time to look at those, you get at stage 4 is having an in-depth review of that information. Again, feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So the survey is made up of the 4 things, the 4 areas of measurement you see here on the side. Workplace impact, workplace activities, physical features, and service features. The graphic at the left basically illustrates the different parts of the survey, or you'll have different printouts about each of these, or report outs of each of these. You'll have demographics as well as some mobility profile information. The physical features and service features were written here on the right. And then we have the workplace impact and workplace activities. Those roll up, add together to create a Leesman LMI, that's Leesman index number, that gives you an actual report out. It compares it against every other survey with every other company that they've done. So this is this is part of the report out that we received from them. This is the data. The Leesman benchmark is basically what they obviously benchmark by against. We had a 96% response rate, which is really good. We were highly happy with that. Frankly, we weren't surprised because we do surveys internally all the time and it's almost always over 90%. I'm going to show you 4 or 5, maybe 6 pages of what amounts to, I think, about a 40-page report. So this basically lists, answers this question: how much do you agree or disagree with the following statements? And I'm not going to read every one of these. The design of my workplace is important to me. It enables me to work productively, enables us to work productively. Those are just the top 3. Early on in the review of this, they told us, look at the red bars. Where the red bars are, there's the opportunity for some kind of gain in the process. There are areas where there's opportunity for work. Obviously, there's not a great number or not a great extent of the red bars here. So in answering all of these questions, most of the things that we had in our current facility scored rather highly, and we had very little pushback about any of those. Then it's reported out differently in a different way. So again, this is the question here. How much do you agree with the following statement? What impact do you think your current workplace has on the following? At the bottom of this graph, I'm sorry, it's a little hard to read. We chose to break our building down into 4 quadrants. Some of our departments are only 3 people, environmental being one of them. So if they answered by department, we would kind of know who answered the question, and we really didn't want that. So we broke the building down into 4 quadrants, 3 north and south, 4 north and south. And then those are all measured against the blue bar that you see here going dot to dot across. That's the Leesman standard. So you can see on the left-hand side, the design of my workplace is important to me. You see how tightly packed those numbers are. So obviously most of the people that work in our office find it important. It enables me to work productively. You see a little spread there. The Leesman number is a little under 80%. All of ours were above that number. Same was true for it enables us to work productively. Again, grouped roughly the same. Workplace culture over to the right, where the other red arrow is, not all the way to the right, shows how tightly packed that is. And then environmental sustainability, obviously that was our lowest scoring element of this part of the survey. And then this is about workplace activities. The question here, thinking about what you do, which of the following activities are important and how well are they supported? So you can see all of a sudden things get all over the place. Part of this is because each quadrant of the building is not identical in the way it's configured. Certain amenities are near certain groups, and therefore everything's not necessarily equal if you were to make a checklist of every part of the building. But you can see here in the middle where the 2 red arrows are informal social interaction, with some discrepancy here, particularly in our 4th south quadrant of the building, and also relaxing and taking a break. You see a little difference here. And then immediately to the right of that one is thinking, creative thinking space, basically. How well is that supported? You can see by department or by region of the building, there's a difference there. So these things were starting to give us hints into what we might be doing with our space. Again, same question, which of the following activities are important and how well are they supported? Again, the red bars here are a little longer, so it gives us some insight. In this case, where the red numbers are off to the right, there's a difference here, and that means this is highlighted as a potential problem. In this case, informal social interaction, relaxing and taking a break. So I want to show one more slide that kind of gives this in a quadrant format. Basically, to the right is high volume of importance, and to the bottom, low perceived satisfaction. Anything in the bottom right quarter was where we needed to focus. And again, it basically reflected what the other information told us. It was just a different graphic way of illustrating it. So I intentionally waited to now to tell you this. The space was designed in 1992, and we moved in late 1992, early 1993. And other than some finishes and a few reconfigurations as a result of removing space that we no longer needed to use, like originally we had our own print center in the office, we eliminated that, and conference rooms were added and so forth. But that's about as significant as the changes have been made. We own our own building. We lease part of it out, so any money we spend on it is coming right off of whatever we generate as revenue every year. So that added maybe some complexity that some might not have. The outcome of our survey, however, was that we received a Leesman Plus rating of 78.4. This was taken in 2018, and the awards came out in 2019. In 2018, there were almost 1,300 workplaces assessed, and ours ranked number 11 of that total. So what that told us was everything works fairly well. Now what do we do? So for as long as it'll take me to say this, we could have done a press release and put everything away and just gone on about our business. That is not the way we work. We've had a continuous improvement person both on the board and as part of our lead staff for 25 years. So I routinely say to people who visit our office, as soon as we figure it out, we break it and try to figure it out again. And that's what we did here. So we spent 2 evenings with folks in the office to review the information in detail and to sit down and doodle and vote on images about what would work, what wouldn't work, about different things. And we took that information along with the Leesman information and then went about proposing some changes to our space. So this is an enlarged floor plan of our building. And one of the floors, this is the 4th floor. We conveniently took spaces that were poorly utilized and broke them into Cincinnati neighborhoods. That's what all these names are here. So that we could then test each area to see if it would resolve some of what we found as issues. So you can see different furniture arrangements and things like that, some seating along windows near the coffee station. The little rectangle right below the word Queensgate was a phone booth that we rented for a short period of time so that people actually had a phone booth to talk in. It was highly utilized. The next one is more of the same. Again, these are pictures of the setups in different spaces. On the left side were spaces along the windows, which we have plenty of space along the windows. The building was originally called the Daylight Building back in the 30s when it was constructed. And on the right-hand side are our team centers. These team centers are located on both floors, but they're spaces that in 1992, you just got up from your workstation, you went over to the team center and you had your team meeting. And we still use them most of the time that way. In this case, we're proposing that we can use them differently by breaking the spaces up into smaller rooms so that there's an easier configuration of the room and also to be set up for smaller people. Sometimes if you sit in there with a person or two, you feel a little bit like you're in the fishbowl right now. So anyway, that's what we have been doing. Each one of these stations had a computer set up with a short survey at the end of any occupancy. So the goal was that after you used it, you went over, signed in, basically talked about how it might meet the requirements going on in the future. So moving forward, our outcomes were really to respond. So we've designed several spaces, function, furniture, finishes, etc., lighting in some cases, tested it with some end users, and we've completed pricing for whatever work that we're going to do. So now enter the 19. I'm stealing that from my son-in-law who has shortened it from COVID-19. So that's where we are. We were budgeting and we're waiting on approvals. We're scheduling to create permit documents, bid and get some confirmation of the costs, order the furniture and other things and get it constructed. And then we will occupy it, use it, and continuously improve it. So are there questions?
Ryan, a quick one. How many people pre-COVID were in these spaces?
Well, we have 120 employees. So, and in a typical team meeting, that's probably our biggest meeting that's not in a conference room. It's in an open conference room, conference area, I would say. There might be 24 to 30 people.
Okay.
Obviously, COVID dramatically impacts that.
Right, right.
And so we are now working on those issues. In fact, I'm going to teach a class in the office in one of the team centers. And right now we're going to put 8 people in there when we do that, in the biggest one. So that kind of gives you an idea. The 20 or 24 person meetings in the team centers are going to go away near term for sure. And I don't know, we're going to decide which 8 or however many are in there and who sits at their desk or another room and converses or signs in by Teams or signs in from home. That's going to be something we're working out over the next several months. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Is this downtown?
Geez, I'm sorry, broke up again.
Downtown area?
Yeah, yes, it's downtown, right at the base of Mount Adams.
Okay.
Overlooks the casino.
Oh,
We overlook 70. We look over 71.
Okay.
To see the casino.
Hey Brian, this is Melanie. So
yes,
obviously you initiated all of this and did a lot of the planning pre-COVID, obviously, and then you've got your enter the 19. So did you loop back and revisit any of the design or the recommendations? It sounds like you're still deploying what you originally contemplated, but just adjusting the way you're going to use it for the near term. Is that right?
So we elevated a couple of the spaces because they more clearly were the biggest need. So for instance, the team center, taking the team centers, at least 1 or 2 of them, there's 6 in the building. Taking 2 of them and modifying them to a COVID model that will be helpful and effective. That's going to be where we start. Again, the 2 reasons are because they were highly used by most people and because it presents the biggest challenge for reduction in numbers from 24 to 8 or some number. So we felt like we couldn't put off dealing with it for sure. So that's where we are. The rest of those, frankly, for financial reasons, as much as anything else, we were going to delay them and roll them out over the next couple of years.
Okay. So I suppose by that approach, you'll be able to make some modifications if A, COVID persists, or if B, you find improvement opportunities in the first wave that you deploy.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, it's instead of doing them all at once, obviously that requires writing a larger check. Number 2, that would be a bit abnormal for us because we like to learn as we go. So we'll do a couple, we'll learn from it, make sure we don't make a mistake in the 3rd and 4th or 5th things. And that's just the way we'll do it probably. So it's good financially. It's also good from just a learning exercise, learning as you go.
Brian, did I miss you? Did you say how much the survey cost you guys for 100+ people?
It was right at, I think, I'll tell you what, I'll send an email to everybody on this about what the number is. It wasn't, I was expecting it to be more than it was.
Do you remember less than 10 grand, more than 10 grand?
Yes.
Okay. And then the second question, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think it actually was about half that. Okay.
And thank you for showing us the guts of the survey, by the way. I appreciate that. That's personally the first time I've seen it. So it looks like, as these standard surveys are, it's basically based on personal preference questions. Do you agree with that, or is that correct?
Well, I think there are, I would say it's 75% that way. And the way they word the questions is pretty good, thorough, I would call it, in the sense of trying to wade through to just vote for the one you think everybody wants you to vote for kind of thing. I think it, and so yeah, I thought in that sense, because we had a dry run with it, put it through its paces, 6 of us took it before we went in. And that was one of our biggest concerns. Is it just going to be kind of a normal thing? We wanted something that was a bit more far reaching than that. And I think we have it here.
So then the follow up to that is when you got that data back and those charts and those numbers and you hit the certain ones that stuck out to the room for improvements areas. Yeah. When you took it into your 2 night focus groups, your visioning sessions, did you find anything? Did your people who looked at it, find anything inside the survey that, how do I put this, that revealed something that maybe the numbers didn't show? Do you know what I'm talking about? Something that was like aha moment?
Yeah, I think I think that I believe what we revealed was that we've become creatures of habit and we make it work. And yeah, by spending a few bucks, we can really dramatically improve the space and how effective it is. And our mix, we're probably I would say 50% engineers, the rest are architects, interior designers, business development people, project managers, and so forth. So let's face it, those are different sides of the brain and they work differently. And so that has always been a challenge, frankly, and why we really haven't changed stuff for a long time, because we're kind of used to working this way. So when everybody saw it, I think the biggest thing that came out of it was we have permission to change this and make it better now.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I think that was a real win, and everybody was on board. I mean, from the beginning, and we started it that way. We set this up for several months before we actually rolled it out. Leadership was on board with doing it. President of the company was like, absolutely, let's get into this. And so I think it's been a big win all the way around. And the other thing it did was it kind of changed the conversations we have about space in our office. Some of my engineering friends, they think the table is always the table and it always sits in that place and it's got 3 chairs at it. And, if you add a 4th, you need to ask for permission or something. That's not the case anymore. People are willing to pick things up and move them around a little bit as a result of what we've done, even before we make significant changes. So I think that was also a big win, is you don't really need to ask for permission, just get it done and tweak it if you need to. So. Other questions? Okay, the last slide here basically just shows you, I think this is the top, 20 companies that received the Leesman Plus Award. Well, that's the right number or not. Our name is right there on the left-hand side. We've gone through this summary. If you aren't on the Leesman Index, I would suggest there's quite a lot of good information there about the workplace globally, about how it's handled, along with a variety of other things. But I routinely get they do not bombard me with emails, which I like. They send me something when they have something to share, and that's maybe once a quarter or something like that. So when I get it, it stands out to me and I read it. If you've got questions that you couldn't ask, there's my phone number and my email address, so please feel free to reach out to me. Any other last questions, folks?
Very interesting, Brian. Thanks a lot for the presentation.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
It was great. Thank you.
You bet. Don't forget to sign in and for our Indianapolis-based event. So September, it's on the first slide, 15th, is that right, guys?
15th.
I think that's it, 15th, and it's 12 o'clock. We believe it might go a little longer than 1 because of the number of people that are on the panel and the conversation that's likely to go on. So if you're going to block out time, we're suggesting 12 to 1:30. If you can do that, that would be great. All right, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. Have a great week. Have a great day.
Take care.
All right.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.